Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I'll be going through the GWS versus Brisbane game, which was basically an absolute mauling after half time. I think it was something like 60 points to about 15 after half time. Because I think it was like 52-44, so yeah, it would be 61 to 15 if that was the case after half time. And yeah, just Brisbane looked absolutely shocking. I don't even know if they kicked a goal in the third quarter, to be honest with you. It was that poor. And no, I think GWS kicked 5-0 in the third, and then 4-2 in the last, or something like that, to skip away. But anyway, before we get into this video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into this recap. So, Tom Green. Man, this has been so hard to play against it, play against him in both formats. 41% owned in Fantasy and 50% owned in Supercoach. And there's been weeks of absolute hide behind your hands type stuff of I don't want to watch this, and then weeks of I'm cheering him on being so bad as he's dropped 80s in both formats. So I knew that this was going to come back, and I was just for the last about 10 minutes trying to think of ways that I can get him in for Supercoach, but I can't really see it. And then it may mean me sort of going to potentially swapping Wanganeen Malira up to him in the buys or something like that after his buy, or Wanganeen Malira up to a Luke Ryan, something like that. But I cannot see a way in which I can get Tom Green in Supercoach at the moment in the next 3 to 4 weeks, as he also has that bye coming up so they can have round 8, 9, 10 and 11, so they've got 4 weeks left. So there's no point getting him in now, compared to all the other players that you can sort of get in. I think it is best to get in the round 15s and 14 guys at the moment, because then you can stack the rounds 12 and 13 after the bye at this point. So yeah, I'm not too worried about a Green necessarily, as he can only hurt me so much, and then I can just grab him post buy. I will be probably grabbing him post buy in the in AFL Fantasy, just because you got 3 trades. You can do you can easily do two mid prices, even though I probably won't have many mid prices by then, and then you can get them up to the likes of 2 premiums. You can get a mid pricer, 2 mid prices, and a cashed out rookie up to a premium, and that's sort of the way you can do it in both formats, I guess. So yeah, Tom Green 127, he was huge throughout the game, very consistent. Sucked that he hit that 60-meter bomb to start the game, and that's when I sort of knew that he was going to go well. Kelly 121, he did really well, and he's done really well the last couple of weeks, but it's Josh Kelly. He's probably going to do his hamstring or something like that, so I'm not going to touch him because he's an outside sort of player, and I don't really like that necessarily. Callahan, he looked really good, and is sort of coming off, I believe, half back at this point, and sort of that wing half back role, and I'm not going to touch him, but it was good to see his sort of progression there. 108, 28 touches or something like that. Himmelberg 107, he did really well, but hasn't really shown this year, and I think he's just going to regress back to that 70 or 80s type of guy. Whitfield, the reliable 105, yes, he dips a little bit in cash, but he's just reliable and putting up big numbers week in, week out, and he's just miles ahead of currently Nick Dacos at the moment for defenders, and there's not many other defenders that are going to put up 110 pretty regularly. Perryman 102, Ward 92, Briggs, Peatling, Ash, Thomas 77, and I was speaking to a friend on this. Thomas is that annoying cash generator that when you actually trade him out, that's when he decides to fire, because he's basically rocks and diamonds. He's scored, I think, 2 or 3 20s and about 2 or 3 70 plus scores. If we look back at Thomas here, let's just look at it. So he's averaging 53, but he's got 4 sub 50 scores, and then 3 75 plus scores, and he's even got an 18, a 35 as well. So yeah, it really is dependent on what he does non-disposal wise, whether he gets his scores or not. So yeah, I'm disappointed that I missed him, because he's going to be a real good cash generator, but It was a surprising one, and I think it just goes against the mold for me of what I would pick as a cash generator. Yes, there are going to be outliers to the system, but I don't generally like to pick small forwards. And the only reason why I picked the likes of Seth Campbell was because he had guaranteed cash on his head already. So that's why I picked him, but I'm really almost regretting that selection now. So yeah, that's why I don't like to select these guys as cash generators, especially early on, as there's generally midfielders or wingers and stuff like that who generally score more consistently. Riccardi, Jones 70, got a tackle taken away late, I'm guessing here. Taken away late. A 70, decent, and will be looked at next week for potentially trading him in. Yes, even though I just said that the likes of a Thomas aren't a trade in now that we don't have like any rookies to trade in. The likes of Darcy Jones at 200k is probably going to be roughly 240k. It's a lot easier to trade these sort of small forwards in now. And Darcy Jones was sort of a guy that was touted to have a lot more talent than a lot of the small forwards that we usually sort of bring in. But I think he's a lot safer of a pick than what Drury was last year. But yeah, I think he's one that will be involved in the trade-in this week, as he'll be like 240k, and it's a lot, I think, a lot of a better pick, given that there's probably not going to be a winger or a halfback. There's probably only Riley Hardiman that can contest him for being a better trade-in this week, as there's not many other debutantes, etc. So I think that's the reason Darcy Jones will be a good trade-in. O'Halloran, Brown, Buckley, Eden, Hogan again for once had a poor game. So just for those who sort of have him in Supercoach, he finally failed. Weir, Alir, Cadman, Bedford, and Daniels came on as the sub for 20 odd seconds because why not? Dunkley 100, he did really well and just started out on fire and then faded massively in the second half. Just a non-disposal king. I think he ended up with roughly around that 9 tackles, 4 marks or something like that. So yeah, he was on something like 4 tackles and 4 marks or something like that right at the start of the second quarter. He just got out quickly. McCluggage for Berry again, showing that he's got something in him, but huge second from him. Just a lot of marks on the outside, but outside of that, nothing much. But again, proving that he's got he wasn't necessarily probably the greatest pickup. There were probably obviously better guys that are going to be more consistent, better role, etc. But he wasn't a bad pickup. Wouldn't be saying go get him now because we're going after premiums at this point. Leicester, McKenna. McKenna coming back has absolutely put a negative rocket on Dane Zorko, and you'll see what I mean in a second. But yeah, he took somewhat of the kickouts, and that really deflated Zorko's score. And Zorko played a lot of half forward because of this. And yeah, I'm worried that Zorko will have to play more half forward until Zach Bailey gets back. And yeah, it's not looking that good for Zorko. And there's obviously the high chance of Zorko getting injured, so I wouldn't be touching him. And I did have him in my Supercoach side, but on the Wednesday it was actually, I think, Wednesday or Thursday, it might have been Thursday actually. So yesterday, last night, I did change to a Rao, as I thought that was definitely going to be the safer selection, given that Rao's run for the next little bit is pretty kind. In West Coast, who without Harley, that should be a good score. Brisbane look horrific at the moment, so that could be a good score. And then he's got North as well, so that should be a pretty good score. And his Supercoach scoring is ridiculous. 126 Supercoach, and I think he has like about a 1.5 ratio. If we go to Supercoach, he's averaging 130, and we go to Fantasy here. I just want to quickly do this, even though I probably shouldn't on this. He's averaging 100, so yeah, he's got a 1.3 ratio at the moment. Not damaging enough in Fantasy, but very damaging in Supercoach. So yeah, that's the reason why I swapped out of Zorko, just because I thought Rao was more of a sure thing. Neil, Danaher, Zorko, and you just see here, I wonder which quarter he played halfback. Played halfback here, played a little bit of halfback in the third and the last, but it was mainly halfback here, and you can just see the scoring here off the charts for a quarter. But outside of that, played half forward and really didn't do anything. Got a couple of lucky kick off the grounds, and even a lucky play onto advantage, I think, here as well, before he switched back. I think this was, he played, I think even Jaden put out a thing, he played something like, was it 47% forward, 23% back or something like that, and 30% in the midfield. It was a really weird range of things that he did, and it didn't end up scoring well. I think he scored a 50 in Supercoach, so yeah, there's a potential for something like a 100-point gain for me going from Zorko to Rao, so happy about that. Andrews, Ainsworth, Wilmot, I thought he actually looked alright, but it's just, he doesn't really have the mass disposal capability that a lot of these other half-back sort of wingmen do, so he doesn't really collect the pill, but he is very damaging when he does get it. Lohman turned up in the last, but really didn't do anything else. Fletcher needs to get more midfield exposure, it's pretty obvious. McCarthy, Payne, Starcevic, Rayner, again, why aren't they looking at Sydney and going, I wonder if we should put our big-bodied half forward in the midfield, because he's already done it for a week and done really well. Nope, they put Rayner back to half forward. He kicks a couple of goals, but he's an impact player, so he has about he has like 8 or 9 touches or something, and gives away a bunch of free kicks. Should have put him in the midfield, because if you can get him having 20 touches a game, he could have 20 and 2 and almost single-handedly win you the game. Hipwood, Gardner, Tunstall came on, didn't do anything, and then Archie subbed out with, I don't know what injury it was, but yeah, subbed out with an injury. So they never really touched on that in the commentary team. It was sort of, Tunstall had been on for about 5 minutes before they even realised the sub was activated, and then I don't think they talked about any injury, or they talked about it, but I forgot what injury it was. But yeah, definitely he was injured, as Tunstall played a lot of time. So anyway, that is the video there, and I guess I will see you guys in the next one, which will be the Port Adelaide St Kilda tonight, something like that. Let me just double check this. Yeah, Port Adelaide St Kilda at Adelaide Oval for the 7:40 start, and then we'll get that done on the Saturday. And then the Sunday reviews will be the 3 games that happen on the Saturday, and then the Monday we'll have the two Sunday games. So I'll see you guys in those next recaps tomorrow. Bye guys.